The more I do transfer research, the more I think we really have almost no idea what we're talking about. That really we don't have good definitions, that we are using a term that's not robust enough, that there are so many kinds of ways to use prior knowledge that I think part of what we need is a way to talk about each of those kinds as different things, or at least related but differently named, because I don't think we have the language to help us be precise enough to think about what we're doing. And that our methods are really difficult because the phenomenon is so complicated and we can barely even name what it is, then thinking about how we're going to study it is equally complicated. So even though I'm still really enjoying thinking about transfer, the more I think about it, I feel like the less I actually understand it.
There are always concepts that help us become part of a community of practice, and the more expert we are in these communities of practice, the less visible the concepts are, or the practices are. And so as we start to think about transfer study or transfer theory, one of the really important cathartic and helpful things is to recognize that we have all these practices that seem so natural and commonsensical to us, and yet are so learned and practiced. And so one of the really important steps of transfer work is to really dig into our own practices and think about what are they, what do they privilege, what values do they reflect in our community, and see them as subjects of study and not as natural things, as in some sense as unnatural things, as Sam Warrenberg would say.
If you're coming to the transfer research and you haven't been reading it or thinking about it up until then, you kind of walk into it thinking that you understand it, right? That you know what we're talking about here. I mean, by we, I mean all of us. We all use the word transfer. And so you sort of walk in and say, okay, well, I know, I'm just kind of interested in how transfer happens. And so I think if you're new to this, one of the things you might want to do is really start looking at how different kinds of people define transfer, and that it really has been questioned and complicated a lot in terms of not just being static, not just being present moment, not just being individual. And maybe a good place to start with that is the Engstrom book, Between School and Work, because they lay out in an early chapter sort of different ways to look at transfer that I think is really helpful if a person is coming to this for the first time.
So finding a particular pathway in might be another word of advice. What is it that you're doing that you would most benefit from? Because I think our studies have gone in many, many different directions. I think about Rebecca Nowacek's work in interdisciplinary studies. So if that's where people are situated, But the thing is, the work has implications even if you don't realize it right from the beginning. So I'd say read around and know that nobody, I don't think, feels as if they've got it. So I think it's like a garden of delight out there to frolic in, or a fun house, maybe, if you will.